I don't give a fuck. He didn't care about me. I don't care about him. He was cooperating against his co-defendants when I cooperated against him. I don't give a shit about that guy. He doesn't give a fuck about me.
Matt, I want to tell you, you got a great podcast, your great show. I've been one of your first followers since when you started. Um, but most of the time, I'm tuning in, like, probably saying the same thing people say about me is like, this guy's so full of it. You know what I mean?
Well,
But
I get the he's got so many stories. He's lying. Listen, their stories are from me being locked up in prison.
yeah,
Like I'll say, hey, you know what's funny? So my editor, you know what my editor does is he'll take a story where, let's say I'm talking to somebody. Let's say I'm interviewing Jay, and we're talking. And I say, man, that reminds me of the movie Heat. And then he goes, Heat? I never saw Heat. And I go, you never saw Heat? Oh my God, there are these two guys, and there are these guys, and they this and they. I start explaining Heat for 3 or 4 minutes. My editor will then take Heat, and he'll turn that little section into, let's say, a TikTok. But when you listen to it, it makes it sound like I'm saying, me and my buddies, me and a couple of guys, we were doing this and doing that, and these cops are chasing us, and we went in the bank, and they go, or maybe I'm telling a story about somebody else, but he'll leave out Heat, or me saying, have you ever seen Heat? And I'm explaining Heat, so people are like, this guy's so full of it. That's the plot to Heat. He's such a liar. He's such a I'm not saying I was locked up with this guy. It's a TikTok. And the next thing you know, guys are like, this guy's so full of shit. He's such a liar. It's like, I didn't, that's a TikTok. Like, I didn't edit this. I didn't. Or guys tell stories in prison. And I'll be like, yeah, I met this guy and he did this in prison, blah, blah, blah. And you'll get half the guys will be like, that's a lie. That's bullshit. That never happened. It's like, I'm just telling you what this guy told me.
yeah. I think, you know what? I understand. I love some of the stories you share. A lot of times are things that happen in prison, right? And being in prison, it seems like everyone has a crazy story, and you take their word for it, right, Matt? You kind of start to understand
Yeah,
who's real, who's not.
you can only verify so much stuff. Like, how am I going to, I can verify that you got arrested for moving, whatever, however many thousands of, kilos or something. But I can't verify when you tell me about a close call where you got pulled over and the cops questioned you and they were about to go, they asked to search your car and you thought, oh my God, this is it. And then suddenly they got a call on the radio and said, hey, it's your lucky day, bro. Go straight home. And they walked off, got in their car and took off. And you're like, whew. And guys are like, that's a lie. It never happened. Like, how would I know if it happened or not?
Yeah, yeah, Matt. You know
It's
what? I
not
get a lot of
information.
those. Recently, like, especially like yesterday, I did the Will Kane show on Fox News. I did that live. And all day I've been getting like these screenshots of all these comments of people saying he's an actor. That's a lie. And for all those people who think they know, like drug trafficking, I mentioned that in the 10 years that I was involved in drug trafficking, from my experience, that my brothers and I organization never lost a load of money going to Mexico. And people are offended saying that that's cap. I'm like, look, I've told everyone I got robbed for over $12 million worth of drugs at one time. The people know about our home invasion, and people love to say how we're soft and everyone took our stuff. But yeah, I tell you what, I didn't take a loss on, and that's cap. That's not true.
Yeah, there's always going to be a thing. There's always going to be somebody that's going to. I mean, that's just the nature of the game, though. You guys got on the internet, and that's what the internet does. I guess it's a two-way street, like what Matthew just said. You just said, hey, the editor was like, hey, we put this out. It's a soundbite. Because there's a girl, too, that the girl puts in the description, hashtag, this is all fake. And then she gets on the camera and she says, I don't cook for my husband. I don't clean for my husband. I don't clean up after my kids. People don't get that far into the video or read the description to know that she's just talking bullshit, and they're eating it
She's
up.
trying to get views.
And she's getting mad views, you know?
Yeah, Matt. So I think that's one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about. Because you have very interesting people, like, and not everyone's full of it, but some of the guests, I guess they're just going to come and tell their stories and any podcast. But I do believe that when it comes to, like, for instance, in my situation, you'll hear people, if I say I don't have any violence in my case, it's cap. But the same people will be like, but they're soft. Or
Right.
the biggest thing is like that me and my brother were not built for that life. And Matt, like, it's funny because I'm like, no, they don't understand. We were the life, like everyone's watching from afar. I was born in the life, I was in the life since I was at the age of 7. And a lot of times because I don't look like them or sound like them or try to act like, oh, this, tough guy, it seems like I can't be the real deal. But I think that's what probably made me successful. I didn't want to be any, like just regular dumbass in the street, But I grew up in both environments, both here in the United States and in Mexico. And the people, my brother doesn't ever do anything like this, my twin brother, because he's so like frustrated, says that the internet been scammed with a bunch of liars and bullshitters, that it makes now the people think that when they hear a real story, it's a lie.
Right.
And that's some of the things that I've experienced. And as you know, I always said that I told Matt that when actually I'm gonna do a real in life interview with him, and he's gonna be the first podcaster I go to, just because I think that you always kept it real about your side, your experiences and what you went through in your case, and some of the stuff that you cooperated against, right? And your cooperation. And I love that, right? Because everyone else is a tough guy. Everyone else did hard time, and they know every criminal element and every drug trafficking and fraud, and they're these experts. And I really believe that they don't know shit.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, make up, just like you're saying, make up the mind, make up your mind. Or are you too hard? Or you not, I'm sorry, you're not hard, or are you not, what I'm saying? Like, well, what is it? You see what I'm saying? Like they'll argue. I think that people just want attention when they say that stuff. I think they just want attention. They're desperate to get attention and so they talk about stuff they don't know. Because typically, if you respond to those people, they back down immediately. Do
Yeah,
you ever
yeah.
respond to
I'm
them? Do you ever
actually a big
say,
fan.
yeah,
Well,
exactly?
actually,
I don't get it.
you know what? I'm not sure if you know the story, but how I think that you guys talked about this in the shy interview, that the reason why we and Shy actually became friends and started talking was because I respected his opinion. I felt like his opinion was fair. When he thought something was bullshit, he called it. When if he thought that we did bitch shit, he called it. And sometimes he doesn't know the other side of it. And once I guess the whole story started to come about, he started to understand. Now, I don't make excuses just like you. I don't make excuses for why I cooperated. My reason being, I always said, you know what, me and my brother made the best decision for us at the time. The difference for me and my brother was that we decided to cooperate at the peak of our, criminal wrongdoing, and we were making, more money than most criminals could dream of. But call us, a little bit more, call us intelligent, or intuition, or, what I call it, that it was, you know, I believe it was like a message from God telling me, you know what, you got to change your life. And the only difference between me and my brother was that we did it first, and we made what we believe was the best decision for us, and thank God we did. And people, it's hard for people to accept that, right? I hear people say, oh, they were scared about the war. First of all, who's not scared of dying? Okay,
Right.
just nonsense. Who's not scared? You bring me person like you've been in prison, man. You met really tough guys.
Right.
They're tough, but they're also smart. And everyone's scared of dying. When people tell me like, yeah, the stuff that you see on the internet today, and especially social media, it was going on in Mexico. That was going on when I was around, without the cameras.
Right.
Um, you know what? I will tell you something. Being from Chicago, I want to tell you that it prepared me for those environments. But you know what? I was scared when I was back home, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know not one dope dealer or criminal that wasn't scared of getting killed. All that nonsense of we're tough and I could die for this shit. It's bullshit. It's what they have to say. Um, I remember being in the shoe, man, and they ended up putting one of the lifers across from me, from California, and he'll call me youngster. Hey, youngster. And I was like, he like, how long you been in? I was like, whatever. I think it was like I was on my 9th month or whatever in the shoe. And I like, man, I can't wait to get out of here or whatever. He's like, man, it's all right. You're gonna be all right. I just did 26 years in the shoe. And I looked at him like, oh God, you gotta be, there's something wrong with you here. You're gonna be all right. It's nothing. And I remember once we came out to the unit, and when he would say that, I was the type of person that would not stay quiet. Like, yo, like that's some dumb motherfucking shit right there. Like 26 years in the shoe ain't nothing. Like, you think that it's gonna make you tougher because you're telling us you spent 26 years in the shoe? I believe if you believe that it's nothing, it's because there's something mentally wrong with you.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, no, that's not normal to be okay with that, or to think that that's okay.
Man, let me ask you. We know the twins came up in the game very young. 7 years old, getting taught the game and shit like that. What was your upbringing like? Was it violence? Was it the code of the streets? Was it all that type of shit? And I also want to add to that. Did you have in them they had it basically bred into them the game? Did you cheat playing marbles? You know what I'm saying? Did you try to hustle people out of their lunch money? Was that something you had as a kid, or is that something that came once you were in the brokerage firm type situation?
Yeah, no, I was raised upper middle class. Listen, I was raised exactly the way people think I was raised. Nobody's looking at me thinking, "Oh, this guy was from the streets." Like,
Right.
nobody's thinking that. No, I was.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I was raised. I was raised by I was raised Catholic, and I actually went to school for. I had a learning disability, and that's I was not raised. I was not raised in a as a tough guy. But I had a learning disability, and I ended up going to college, and I got out of college, and I after some failed attempts at other careers over the course of 2 or 3 years, I eventually, well, actually, now that I think about it, probably after about 3 or 4 years, eventually I became a mortgage broker. So, there was no, like, I was not from the streets or a tough guy or anything along those lines.
And
Not even close.
And the hustles didn't start until you were mortgage broker and shit.
Well, I mean, I've always been a salesman, right? Like I'm a good talker. I'm my father, I remember my father telling me, that I would always be able to make money because I was a natural born salesman. He used to say that the secret of sales is sincerity. And if you can fake that, you got it made. He goes, and you got that in spades. He said, you can fake it. Like, he's like, I'd always been kind of a performer. I'd go see a movie and come home and tell my mom all about the movie and ramble through it in like 5 or 10 minutes and tell her about it. And, it was just one of those people that was personable when I needed to be. Okay. If it was important that you like me, there's a pretty good chance I could make you like me.
I could conjure that up.
Right. Yeah. If there was no reason for you to like me, I probably wouldn't make much of an effort, right? Like, I'm just like, oh, hey, what's up? I don't walk into a party and try and talk to everybody. I'm a pretty quiet guy. But, when push comes to shove and it's, necessity and there's money involved, then of course I'm going to be extremely gregarious, right? I'm going to be self-effacing humor, joke around, have fun, laugh a lot, and try and get everybody kind of on my side. I mean, that's just sales, and I'm not a
great
stupid
salesman,
guy.
Matt, because I would say I think that you got great communication skills and you're articulate, and I would never thought that you had a learning disability. So
everybody says that, but having a learning disability doesn't mean you're stupid. It makes it more difficult for you to learn in the same manner that other people learn. I typically learn by doing. I'll do something, fail, do something, fail, do something, fail, and then I'll know it better than the guy who got it the first time.
You know what? That's a great description, because I feel like you're describing me. And you know, me and my brother always say this honestly, and I told Shai this, that I learned from mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. Is I learned from them. You know, and capitalize on those mistakes and did things differently. But that's all it was. You know, it's not like I had this big old plan. I never said that I was just like perfect, you know, drug trafficker or criminal, not at all. And when you say that, like, I went to Catholic school, and if you would have told me even a week before we got into drug trafficking that I was gonna be a drug dealer, I would have said, no way, I don't fit the profile. I would have told you that myself, you know? I'm not, you know, like what people looked up to, like my older brother, or, you know, you don't know the story, but this, you know, high ranking member of the Lion Kings, his name was Cato, which was a good friend of mine. Like, I'm not them. I remember, you know, we were telling the plug, like, you got the wrong guy, you know? Like, you got to go get one of those guys. And he was like, no, no, you guys got this, you know? So, it's one of those things where the environment, I guess, that we're in, it kind of just created us, and we learn from other people's mistakes, including our own mistakes. But they always called us nerds, and I remember writing this manuscript, and I said, "Shit, call me a nerd today, right? You could compare me to, you know, if I was in the street, you told me I was anything like, you know, Zuckerberg or something like that. You know, that's a compliment today. But back in, you know, in our environment, anything
Right.
that's good is bad,
Well,
right?
that's why I
It,
asked the question. That's why I asked Matthew the question of coming up, because you guys were talking about the attitude of guys in prison that are 26 years ain't shit, and this and that and the other. But it's like there's a difference in upbringing and in the streets, like the things that are supposedly honored in the streets and supposedly valued in the streets, don't nobody else give a shit. Matt didn't have to grow up giving a fuck about the snitch culture and when to snitch and when not to snitch and all the picking and choosing that everybody does nowadays. It's like he didn't have that weight on his shoulder that a lot of us had growing up in the hood.
Yeah, I never, that didn't even, you know, you know what's funny about that whole thing is that well, the first time I got caught, and this is what's so funny is when people, well, first of all, most of the people that, you know, in the comment sections that will say like, oh, this guy's a fucking snitch and he's this and he's that. It's always like, well, it's typically like, oh, he would tell on his mother, he would do this, he told on people, people went to prison because of him. Actually, none of that's true. Like nobody went to prison because of me. Nobody got any more time. One guy got 6 months and he got out on COVID. He didn't even do the time that the stake that he had before I gave him 6 months. You see what I'm saying? Like he didn't even do his original time. So, you know, and then people will say, you know, yeah, but you don't care. You didn't know that. You didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't give a fuck if he died in prison. I don't give a fuck. He didn't care about me. I don't care about him. He was cooperating against his co-defendants when I cooperated against him. I don't give a shit about that guy. He didn't give a fuck about me.